Before we go into today's video and subsequent videos, I just want to remind you, yes, I do realize that the intro text is misaligned and off center. I do not know what caused that. It wasn't like that before. I have tried to get it fixed in After Effects, but After Effects is throwing up every single time I try to open the project that's associated with it. So I'm going to have to maybe make a brand new project just so I can fix that. So until then, you're going to have to deal with the text in the intro being a bit off center. So apologies for that. I'll try to get it fixed as soon as I can. But with that being said, on to the video. WePlay Studios, who is the producer of several high-profile video game events, has come under fire after they have posted this next post, which says, quote, "As a company deeply rooted in Ukraine, WePlay Studios have consistently shown a pro-Ukrainian position. Since February 2022, we have terminated all collaborations with individuals and entities from the Russian Federation and Republic of Belarus. We remain committed to working with partners who share and respect these values. Unfortunately, recent developments have prompted us to reevaluate our involvement in one particular project. WePlay Studios is discontinuing its work on the VTuber Awards and will no longer be involved in this production. This decision follows actions taken by the event's host and founder, cooperation with Russian community, which is not aligned with our values and position. Despite this, the VTuber Awards show represents a unique and ambitious initiative within the entertainment industry, and we are proud of the creative and technical contributions our team has made over the past 2 years. We are grateful to the companies and collaborators who partnered with us throughout the process." Now, for anybody who is confused as to what is going on here and who they are talking about, the VTuber in question is Filian, who in a 2-hour stream around the 21-minute mark was raided by another YouTuber, a VTuber who is Russian by the name of Askamish. And here is what she said when that happened.
Oh no, okay.
Elena, that makes me the effing chair champion.
But who really won?
What do you mean who won? Bro, you're friggin' a chicken. Hello? Wait, we got raided by Kamish. Hello, what up, Kamish? Yo! Wait, so who is this, Chad? Russia? Dude! I keep getting raided by Russian VTubers. That's so sick. Hi! Kamish! Can you teach me Russian sometime? I want to learn more than Privyet and Sikabliat. You know Russian?
Duh.
Isn't that Germany? Joke. Get that away from my face. Ow! Well, that's kind of fun. Ow! Oh my god, the bot deletes my messages. Yes! Okay, listen. Russian viewers, I love you guys. However, my moderators are uneducated Americans, okay? We only speak English, okay? I'm not as educated as they are, which is to say, I'm not educated at all, okay? So listen, you guys can speak Russian, that's amazing. We need English in the chat, okay? Russians, one of you understand, drop a 1. Listen, okay, we can't speak Russian, so we can't moderate it. All right, that's out of the deal. Yeah, so yeah. Privyet, Finn, I love you. Aw, dude, we got Russian people. That's so sick.
Yeah.
Okay, Russians, we have Lena here today. She is with me in real life, and anything you can do in real life, I can do with her right now.
Now, you may have noticed in that tweet that WePlay Studios posted that there was a community note in which it shows an ex-post by Matcha that says, quote, "Filian had no way of knowing and did not do anything wrong. It's about Askamish and this particular raid at 21 minutes. At 3 minutes 27 seconds, linking to a YouTube post going on to say that Askamish mentions that she works in the defense industry and has access to classified information." Now, the YouTube video that was linked is in Russian language, thus there is no way for me personally to tell you what was said or what wasn't said in the video. However, this has gotten some rather interesting responses, with one person, Ola Akami, saying, quote, "I'm sorry, it was very unthoughtful of me to be born in Russia. I'll educate myself to become a better person. I'll choose a place to be born more mindfully next time to not disturb people with my nationality. Discrimination by nationality is alright when you do that, right? And there are several other people within the reply section saying stuff like, quote, so this is the next step, saying that you won't work with anyone that has Russian anywhere in their lineage. Another person saying, what a closed-minded take to have. Even you disagree with Russia's actions on Ukraine, it's not hard to realize that doesn't mean every Russian is in favor of those actions. So to cut off an entire group of people who have no say in a war and were punished for speaking out is ridiculous. Do better. With another person saying the VTuber Filian scrolled through to learn Russian, was involved in the Russian defense stuff, but did you guys even have proof that Filian knew about that part? You guys are jumping the ball here. She was just scrolling through clips. What TF? Going into a claim that Filian did not know of the affiliation until either later on in the stream or after the stream was concluded. But you can see some of the responses there. However, some of them are actually applauding this decision. This person saying, quote, the comment section attacked companies that ceased trade with Germany in 1939, saying not all Germans supported invading Poland. Another saying, quote, when it comes to Russians, there are always an apologist with not all Russians. When it comes to Israel, they are all Zionists and bad. Why are they so effing hypocritical? Russian pay taxes still, and the government uses them to kill us Ukrainians. Another one saying, why do a bunch of foreigners think that they have the right to dictate how Ukrainians should feel about Russians? And this one tweeted, based Ukrainian company being based and consistent in their values. Of course, the comments are filled with salty coping vatniks. I'm not quite sure if that is a epithet in any sort of way. I apologize if that is. And I did want to highlight that last one because it seems to be a epidemic anymore in which people will say a thing and then they see that the majority of people on X are disagreeing with them, and instead of saying, hey, maybe they're just a minority, saying, oh, well, the entirety of X is wrong. They are all just this or that. Instead of acknowledging that maybe they're the ones that are wrong on something. I don't get that mentality. I really do not get that. At the very least, say, hey, I know I'm in the minority on this. Maybe I'm having an opinion that many people don't disagree with, but don't think the entirety of X is wrong just because you took a minority position, which this is a minority position here. Now, before I go say my piece about this particular story, I did want to address one particular X post that some might be seeing as the person who actually did raise the issue to WePlay Studios. Kyoko, a UA VTuber, according to her X account, saying, quote, for those who want proof, Filian collaborates with a streamer who works in the Russian defense, which she herself says, which we have not been able to confirm one way or the other. She also makes some unsubstantiated claims, saying, quote, Filian also broadcasts with a fan of the communist regime and proof of desire to work with a killer. And then when asked to provide the proof of this, she says, quote, I am consistently being told that Filian did not know before promoting a little killer several times in your videos. You need to check the information about her. It took me 2 minutes. Case in point, there is no way to determine what exactly Kyoko is talking about here, as there is some unsubstantiated claims and the post in question is in Russian, so we do not know one way or the other without a translation as to what was being said. Remember, as you saw in the clip, Filian did not have a collaboration with X-Comish. She was raided by her. Kyoko had also said, quote, good morning, this is a Ukrainian company. Ukrainian company does not want to work with Russian citizens. This is a sensation. Russians are killing Ukrainians. Ukrainians are stopping working with Russians. What is not clear, given the impression that the Russian citizens are agreeing with the actions of the Russian government as a whole. Kyoko also seemingly got in contact with WePlay Studios about that situation, with Filian being a part of the event, and you can see the quotes on the screen, but someone had said apparently this person was also spreading lies to WePlay directly, possibly the reason behind all this. Imagine hating Filian this much. And somebody responded saying, hey, I generally want to know and learn. I watched a video timestamp 325 and heard her say that she works for this defense company and has access to confidential information. Was this misunderstood? What am I missing? And then they answered the person who had made the point, saying the person Filian collaborated with was Trixie Vox, not the VTuber in that video. And keep in mind, they're talking about the person that raided Filian's channel being working with the defense company, not that Filian knew anything about it, despite claims stating otherwise. as far as we are aware, and as far as everybody is saying, Filian did not know that anything was even going on, that she was even being raided by someone who claimed that they were working in the defense industry and had classified information. And we don't even know if that's the case because the YouTube video was in Russian. So I would assume someone did the translation, and as of the recording of the video, I haven't seen that yet. Maybe there's something somewhere that I'm missing. But no matter what, I watched the stream in which she was being raided, and she did what you saw in the clip. There's really no indication that she was even wanting to discuss anything of that sort. She just wanted to have a good time and to play musical chairs with the guests she had. That was it. And make double entendres and dirty jokes. That's all. Where in that entire stream, until she knew anything about this, did she even address what was going on in Russia and in Ukraine? And what did WePlay Studios have any right to say, hey, we don't want to do any business with any Russians whatsoever, regardless of whether or not they even agree with anything that the Russian government is doing? You're not just talking about the Russian government or people that are involved within the Russian government. You're talking about anybody who has Russian lineage at this point. Anybody who even thinks of talking to anybody who happens to be Russian. You're going to crucify them and to ostracize them and to cancel them. What part of that isn't racism? What part of that is okay? And the people who are commenting and saying, hey, good for you, you should be ashamed of yourselves. You should be, because that is not okay for you to do that. Yes, that is true. Not every single person who is Russian is agreeing with the Russian government. And if you think it is, point me to the survey that has a sizable and meaningful sample size that the majority of the Russian people agree with their Russian government bombing Ukraine. And regardless of what side you're taking on that whole thing about the nuances of it, it doesn't mean that you should treat a person who happens to live there, live in those places, with any less respect than you would of anybody else that you decide you want to be friends with. There are Russians who are completely detached from all of this, who are getting caught in the crossfire or being persecuted because of their lineage. And you want to talk about, oh, this is the same as, hey, not all Germans are bad. What about what happened when we went to war with Japan after Pearl Harbor? We put Japanese people in concentration camps during those times, and we had to compensate after the fact. And yes, I do love the country that I live in. I love the USA, but at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and say that the USA is perfect in any sort of manner. They're far from it. We've done some abhorrent things in the span of the life that the United States has been around, but that's not to say that every single person who has lived here in the States is a bad person or has agreed with the things that have gone on in the span of us making progress. Just as not all Russian people who are living in Russia have anything to do with what the Russian government does. And for WePlay Studios to do this in of itself, but then have some people actually agreeing and saying what they are, and I assume some people are just being edgelords and seeing how much engagement they can get with their blue check marks. I would hope that they are not actually believing half the stuff they're saying half the time, but for them to get some of that kind of responses, it's just abhorrent and it's not okay. And WePlay Studios should be ashamed of themselves, and they should be taken to task for it on a grand scale. And for the record, I'm not sure if Filian has said anything yet to what has just gone down. This happened a day before I post this, but I will love to see what her reaction is to all of this. If it isn't racism, then what is it? Because you're accusing Russian people of siding with the Russian government when you don't know that. That's like saying all white people are racist just because they are white people. That's not the case. Or that all heterosexual people are homophobic just because they're heterosexual. That's not the case at all. And we shouldn't be saying stuff like that. Just period. End of story. We should not be saying that kind of stuff. Now, I would love for some other YouTubers who have collaborated with WePlay Studios in the past to call them out as well, because maybe that's what it takes in order for them to wake up here. And they're saying they've done this since February 2022. How long have they gotten away with it? It seems like we're just now learning that they've done this. Where was the outrage at that point? That they are saying, hey, we don't want to do any business with any Russian people? And we're just now hearing about this, and they still care so much about this that they're willing to stick to their guns on this point that is clearly racism. There's no other way you can parse it, no other way you can put nuance to it that is the nuance. How long have we let this go on? We need to call them out. So yeah, I mean, I don't think Filian needs them, to be quite honest with you, but WePlay Studios needs Filian more than Filian needs them. And maybe more YouTubers need to distance themselves from WePlay Studios. Maybe Asmongold needs to distance themselves from this particular company. This needs to be addressed. And more people need to call this out, and maybe it's time that they get taken to task. Because when you're taking into account what Kyoko was saying from what the monologue was saying earlier, you're also getting into a dangerous situation where one person is seemingly all it takes for these companies in order to sever ties with people who they might want a good reason to do so. And this was not a good reason to do so. They didn't even want any kind of proof to the contrary. They just said, hey, she's working with a Russian. That's all we need. We don't want any other proof. We don't need any other proof. That was all we need. That's kind of scary when that's all it takes for someone to try to ruin your life is just somebody with a chip on their shoulder, or somebody wanting to be an edgelord, or somebody just wanting to see how much bedlam they can create, and no one can ever convince them to change course at all. They just want to be horrible people. They have a knack for being abhorrent people. No, there is no evidence that Filian ever did anything like that. That Filian ever sided one way or the other on this whole situation. The one thing that I think is abhorrent is that this whole conflict has been going on for a few years now with no signs of slowing down and no signs of anybody saying we want a ceasefire. How about we do that? How about we ask for the guns to be put down and for the two sides to come to the table and to have some sort of resolution to this so that no one has to die anymore? How about we do that? Instead of trying to say, oh, we don't want to work with you, we don't want to work with them. Why don't people say, you know what? We want to come together. We want you guys to stop fighting. How about we do that? Instead of doing all this. Just taking sides like, hey, we don't want to work with Russian people. You know what you're doing by doing that? You're making people like Ukrainians a little bit less, because you're making guilt by association. How about we stop doing that? How about we stop being edgelords on Twitter or X or Reddit or anybody else and actually ask these governments to try to put down the guns and stop with their weapon making and to come to the table so we can get this resolved and so we don't have to do stuff like this anymore. Not that we had to do this at all. Stop giving us reasons to continue to be at each other's throats. We don't need to be. Filian did nothing wrong here. You're just feeding into the machine the more you're trying to be edgelords or trying to be crap stirrers about all this. But what do you think about it? Please leave a comment down below, and please like, share, subscribe, and ring the bell for more videos. I'll see you next time. Please stay true to mental health. I'll see you next time. Until then, as always, to be continued.